the spirit of the tool is determined by the hand of the user. So if you have a hammer, what's your intention? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to break something or are you going to build something?
Welcome, everyone, to the Mind Valley podcast. I'm really excited about our guest today because if you watch HBO, you've probably seen him on the hit show Entourage. Most recently, Adrian Grenier has also returned to Netflix in a new show called Clickbait. But Adrian has actually spent the last decade of his life cementing his place in the world as something way more than an actor. He's become an activist and a communicator on environmental issues. And in a recent article in Austin Monthly, I read that he's also officially become a farmer. So there's a lot to dive into here. So it's a well-known fact that Adrian Grenier has shifted his focus from acting. He is now a UN Environmental Goodwill Ambassador, and he has a social impact fund that focuses on matters that encourage human flourishing, such as psychedelics, one of my favorite topics, incidentally, mental health, sustainable consumption, and Communitas, which are wellness retreats with community building. Not what you were expecting, right? So while we may want to know more about his next TV show or movie venture, today instead, we're going to talk about Adrian as an activist. And we're going to talk about Adrian's new fund, Contra Ventures, which is looking to raise close to $150 million to invest in founders and startups that can help make the planet better. Now, why is this conversation relevant to you? Well, the vast majority of people in Mind Valley tend to be entrepreneurs, startup founders, CEOs. In fact, those three are the top three most common job titles among our members. And there's something about the people that Mind Valley attracts, right? You tend to be people who label yourself conscious entrepreneurs. Today, with Adrian, we're going to be exploring the concept of ROI, which you know about, return on investment, versus YBM, yield beyond money. This is a qualitative and quantitative assessment protocol created by Contra, Adrian's fund, and used to evaluate the intangible value beyond our calculator's reach. If you are a conscious entrepreneur, as most Mind Valley people label themselves, conscious entrepreneurs or people working for conscious companies, YBM is a really powerful idea. And so with that, Adrian Grenier, welcome to the Mind Valley podcast.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks for having me.
So first off, Adrian, what's with the farming news that we are seeing lately?
It's a long time coming. I grew up in New York. I was a street rat, straight up. Like, grew up in the streets. You know, whenever I wanted to escape mom, I'd like hang out, on stoops and in alleyways, just to get some alone time with the boys, with the friends. And that became my whole identity, my whole ego. I had to create that ego, that confidence, that belief in then this is the best place on earth. This is the way it should be. We're better than Jersey. We're the greatest city in the world, the Big Apple. And then I realized, no, I was so disconnected from nature. I spent my whole life growing up with concrete between me and the earth. And trees were the things that were relegated to Central Park. And I didn't even see the ocean, barely. Every once in a while, if you were on the edges of the city, you'd see rivers. And I didn't even know we were in Ocean City. So finally, after way too long, I had a breakdown, and I realized I needed to get my hands dirty. I needed to be in the earth. I needed to ground myself, change my whole entire lifestyle, and align it more with what I'm looking at right now, which is grass and mist. There's beautiful mist right now, dew on the leaves, and chickens. Chicken.
Where exactly are you right now?
I'm in Texas, outside of Austin.
Bastrop?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great. And those chickens, are these wild Texan free-range chickens, or are these chickens that you are farming?
Yes, we actually picked up a couple baby chicks, day olds. We raised them in the laundry room, and they have recently upgraded to the chicken coop, which is quite swank. I'm not going to lie. I spent a good long time making sure that it was safe from predators. And now they have an automatic chicken door. Bzzz, very fancy. It opens up when the sun comes out so they can go out and roam about. And then by the time they get home, it closes up again and they're safe again.
So I love that. I love that you went from Hollywood, from being this star, to becoming a farmer, and now you're raising chickens. But again, your ambitions are beyond that. You're also raising $150 million for Do Contra Ventures to invest in impact entrepreneurship. Now let's talk about that. We all know what ROI is. Do Contra coined the word YBM, yield beyond money. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I've been doing environmental work for a long time. I've been an activist, if you will, for quite some time. And there's just something about the word activist that I don't love. It feels a little pushy, and you got to force people to do the right thing, and that somehow feels off to me. And so I was looking for what's the root cause? Like, what inspires us? How do we actually motivate action and change in the world? And when you start boiling it down, you get to the root, and then you go below the root, and you realize it's about money. Money is the fuel. It's the energy that inspires, motivates people to build the world. And like it or hate it, it's the reality. It's established, and for some reason, it's been the way in which we actually exchange goods and services, and we actually do business with each other and create our world. So I started talking to my partner Bob Manuzzi, an incredible investor who is basically managing my investments that I was doing on the side as a passive. Just like receiving. I was basically taking in, fielding opportunities. And she said, we have such a good thing going here. Why don't we build an actual fund and let's go out actively find opportunities. And then we can take capital, money, and funnel it into businesses that are doing more than just making money. They're seeking something more intangible and more valuable than just money itself. And that's when we came up with the concept of yields beyond money. So that's our metric, is YBM, which is not just money for money's sake and seeking, zeros and, decimal points, but actually the things that make life worth living, the things that enrich our human experience, community, nature, family, the things that are vital. And so that's what we do. We not only look at ROI, as any good capitalist and responsible steward of other people's money will do, is make sure that we're actually generating money so that we can continue to invest in the future. But fundamentally, we really orient ourselves towards the things that are intangible. And that's really a mindset. It's like we look to support entrepreneurs and building what they're looking to build over time. We're not just looking to make a quick buck. We're actually creating relationships right from the entrepreneur level, supporting that human to achieve greatness within the business, and then supporting the business once it's up and running to do great things in the world.
So this concept of YBM, yield beyond money, does this idea play a role in your daily life? Is it a guiding principle in not just your investments, but how you show up in the world?
Absolutely. For a while I was, chasing the dragon, so to speak, making more and more and more, and needing to accumulate more nuts for my, squirreling my nuts away for a rainy day because of scarcity anxiety. Like, what if I don't have enough tomorrow? And then I look and I realize, I was like, I have enough. Not only do I have enough, I have way more than I need. So on a personal level, I was seeking to relief. I was seeking relief from that constant accumulation drive. And I wanted something that felt a little bit more embodied and integrated into my entire spirit, not just my ego or, my vanity. And so that's when I shifted my whole life. I let go of a lot of the pursuits I was doing for way too long, and really came down to earth and settled into something a little bit more holistic, so that my whole entire life, my lifestyle, is aligned with my values. And so the way I generate an income, how I relax on a Saturday, how I spend time with my friends, it's all the same. The people I surround myself with are farmers and investors and entrepreneurs who all are mission aligned, and we're all rowing in the same direction to make a world that isn't just about money and accumulation. It's so fragile. If it's just about the money, but if we create a resilient, enriched community that's heart-centered, nature-based, that's the true wealth, really. And we won't have to worry about our bank accounts when we're all sharing in the bounty, sharing in the human flourishing and the abundance that we can create together.
I love that. And heart-wise, I'm completely aligned with what you're saying. And I know many of the people who are listening are. But my question is, well, two questions. Firstly, I'm just playing devil's advocate here, right? The first question is, do these companies really return a good ROI? Because yes, I know YBM is important, but ROI is also important. Like, can these companies really make a good return? What are you seeing right now?
Well, if you look at our numbers, the answer is fuck yes. I mean, we've done so well. Look, I wouldn't be here asking for people to invest in us at the tune of $150 million if we don't already have a track record that proves that we're gonna be responsible for those investments.
So you were saying impact investing is making incredible returns for you. Like tell us more. Like, tell us what are some of the things that you're seeing. What are some of the companies you've discovered?
I mean, as I mentioned, these are unrealized returns. If you know about investing, it's like we're tracking the growth of the companies, and then at some point when there's an exit, then we'll realize those returns. But as of now, we're tracking at a really positive ROI, and then ultimately we're in it for the long haul, right? So we're not looking to just cash out right away, because we understand that these companies they'll have their ups, and then they'll have their hard moments, and then they'll have to overcome adversity. So this is a long-term commitment to the entrepreneurs, first and foremost. I just want to make that clear. And that requires that we really do, we know, we track the ROI, but really the way we put our energy is supporting the entrepreneur and his or her mission within the company, so that they're not tempted to sell out themselves or make a quick exit or get bought out at the detriment of the mission and values of the company. So really it's a multilateral investment, not
so
just
you're
capital, but human support.
You're also the angel on the shoulder saying, whispering, don't be evil.
Well, yeah, but didn't Google say that or something? It's easy enough to say the words. It's another. And that's why lifestyle and embodiment is so important to me, right? Because I'm an actor, right? So I'm good at words. I can speak the script all day long and make you think that I'm anything. I can shapeshift and be any character you want. And then, at the end of the day, it's like, what am I really standing for? Who am I really? So that's why we keep ourselves in check at DuContra to make sure that we are in fact committed to this company. It may seem glossy and a great investment, but if it's not mission aligned, and if we can't add value, we have the discipline enough to walk away. But you're talking about are these companies making good return?
Yeah, well, I was actually asking for some examples because I think the audience that's listening would love to know you don't have to say the company name if you don't want to, but what are some of the technologies, what are some of the new developments you're seeing that are really exciting you, that would excite us and give us hope for a better future on Earth?
Yeah, I mean, so we've invested in about 15 companies thus far. Blue Land comes to mind. I was just talking to founder Sarah, and they're doing zero plastic home cleaning products. So they send you compressed detergent or compressed material that you actually dissolve in water and then reconstitute it so you can use it as cleaning product. So they're not shipping around a bunch of water, creating a higher carbon footprint, and there's no plastic, so that's not going into the ocean, and they're right to your door, and people love that convenience.
That is amazing.
Yeah, they are killing it. Especially now with COVID and people, well, hopefully COVID's on its way out, at least in our hearts and minds and our way of life. But yeah, I mean, they really took off and did.
What is that company called?
Blue Land.
Blue
Highly
Land.
recommend it. Highly.
I got to check it out.
They have hand soaps and dish soaps and laundry detergent, and it's all non-toxic. It's natural and zero plastic. Pretty incredible.
Amazing.
Another company.
Yeah.
It's called Heartwater.
Mm-hmm.
They're a local Austin company, and they're harvesting the weather and putting it in aluminum cans. And their whole mission is to create rainwater catchment for communities. So having hyper local resource to water without having to tap into aquifers or going to foreign countries and robbing people of their beautiful natural spring water, and of course destroying the environment in the process. It's an incredible company. I'm really excited about working with. What else? Seeds Investor. That they're basically advise. They create tools for financial advisors to better communicate the ESG and YBM opportunities and investments for their clients. So people, financial managers manage a ridiculous amount of money, amount of wealth, and have a lot of power in how people deploy that money throughout, variety of investments. And they don't have enough of the tools to be able to communicate how important it is that they can actually align someone's values with their investments, so that they're not just investing in something to make money on this side, and then their values are here and they're at odds with one another. It's like driving with the brake on. Right? You're like trying to do good in your life and give to charity, and then meanwhile you're invested without even knowing it sometimes in companies that are antithetical to your mission. So it's allowing financial advisors to better align people's investments with their values. We think that's an incredible business that will not only do really well financially. I remember when we got off the phone with the founders. So I'm the dreamer. I'm the one who's romantic and want all the intangible, beautiful things that make life rich and beautiful on a human level. And then we have a lot of analysts who are the numbers people. And when we're both singing the praises of a company, we know we've hit gold. So after that call, everybody was, full yes on that one. Not only financially, but also the amount of good that we can do by helping to funnel people's investments in a way that's more aligned with their hearts. And we believe that people want to do the right thing.
That is amazing. I love what you guys are doing. Maybe about 8 years ago, if I was looking for a good investment opportunity, I would have looked at ROI, because 8 years ago, I needed ROI. Sure. And I remember meeting Elon Musk. It was 2013. We were at the SpaceX facility, and he pitched his whole vision to me and a couple of other visiting guests. And I was thinking, man, this Tesla company could really go somewhere. I should invest in Tesla. And I did not, because almost every other impact investment opportunity was just dormant, was kind of flat. And as of this week, I realized that if I had invested in Tesla, I would have seen a 20-time ROI, 20 time in 8 years.
Yeah.
And so Tesla, I think, has shown us that investing is really changing. So many people are investing in companies, not just on ROI, but based on their values. And it even applies to blockchain, to Bitcoin. No matter what you think about blockchain, I have close friends who put millions in Bitcoin because they are so attracted to the philosophy of crypto. And we are seeing that as well with Tesla. I mean, it's crazy what happened recently. I think it was Avis or Hertz. They placed an order for a large number of Tesla cars. That order would have added up to about 6 billion. But Tesla stock shot up something like 80, 90 billion. And it's amazing to see people betting on Tesla because of Elon's stance towards the environment. And I'm excited to see where companies like Blue Land are going to go. If these are going to be the next Johnson & Johnsons of our time, because of the values, the ideology that so resonates with our heart, and their business model.
Yeah, well, not without a fight from Johnson & Johnson, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm. Right,
and
which
they
is...
have the capital to try and bury some of these entrepreneurs and companies. That's why for us, it's about way more than just the investment. They need our hearts, our souls, our support, so that the businesses of the future actually can have an edge. So there's a fair fight. So it is an ideological and spiritual commitment to companies that really truly are doing the right thing. And it's hard to sometimes determine who they are, but I think, that's up to all of us. Like, we all need to work together to sort of identify that and share information, open source ideas, and work together to change our very lives together.
Mm-hmm. I love investing in companies where I truly resonate with the values of the founders. And if I feel that the founders are off on their values, I pull my money out. So I used to be invested in Facebook, and Facebook had great ROI. I just don't trust Zuckerberg. I pulled all that money out. I put it in Tesla, and I'm so glad about that.
Highly problematic. I agree. And that's hard. It's hard to make that disciplined choice, but that's why you gotta really check in with yourself and say, how am I going to feel tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but down the road? What legacy am I leaving through this investment? I may have made a bunch of money, but what have I really done? And I learn that lesson every day here on the land. I may not reap the benefit of the work I'm doing, but the systems that we're putting into place here will benefit future generations. And so I'm really starting to live not just quarters and years and how much money do I have now, but really looking at long-term investments in heaven on earth, like Garden of Eden.
So,
we're gonna have fruit and food everywhere here, and somebody's gonna one day reach up and be able to grab any fruit and just munch on it, and that's really exciting for me.
So in a moment, I want to get your thoughts on soil. Right, this is something we all hear about, global warming, but soil. If we follow you on Instagram, you mentioned soil, and the health of our soil is something that you're passionate about. I also saw your interview with Sadhguru, where you guys spoke about soil. So we're going to talk about soil in a moment, and why this is something we really have to be paying attention to. It's an existential threat to our species. But first, I just want to say something to the audience that's out there. So many people I meet tell me that they're concerned about the environment. They're concerned about where humanity is going. If you just read the news, I mean, it's devastating. There was an article last week that showed that 10 specific rainforests are now emitting more carbon than they're actually capturing because of human intervention. So it's scary what's going on to the planet. There's also good news. If you read the news today, countries responsible to 85% of rainforests, the politicians got together and decided to make a commitment to prevent to preserve rainforests. Whether this commitment stays or not, who knows? But people constantly tell me, I don't know what I can do. I feel helpless. But the fact is, none of us are helpless. Almost everyone listening has invested in something. Maybe you bought a stock. Maybe you bought, maybe you are on an app like Robinhood. Investing is so easy, but you can choose to put your dollars not just in ROI, but YBM. You can choose to invest in companies that if these companies succeed, the world is going to be better for your children. For the life of me, I can't understand why people invest in Coca-Cola. I can't understand Warren Buffett. Coca-Cola is the biggest polluter on the planet. I can't understand why people invest in companies like ExxonMobil. We can make that choice. You can pull money from companies that are harming our future and redeploy that money in companies which are doing good. And people are starting to catch on to this. This is why Tesla stock is soaring. You can also find startups that you can invest in. For example, I'm actually drinking. This is sparkling water. So I don't take cola. It's sparkling water with a substance in it called chaga. Chaga is a mushroom, and I invested in this company. And it's an Estonian company, and what they do is they grow mushrooms, which are superfoods, on trees. And so rather than cut down forests to farm new foods, you are growing the foods on the trees itself. And so the forests are preserved and you still get food products. And chaga is filled with like 200 different vitamins, really good stuff. So I use this as a coffee replacement. But I was using this product and I loved it. And I thought, well, I should do the next step. These entrepreneurs need money to grow. I so want to see this grow. I want to see forests preserved. I'm going to invest in this. And all of us can find these opportunities, but it's not easy. And that's why if these ideas appeal to you, you want to check out DuContra Ventures, DuContra.ventures. Go to DuContra Ventures, read about what Adrian and Bar is also a really good friend of mine. Read about what Adrian and Bar Minuzzi are doing. And consider if this is a fund that you may want to put money in. Adrian, is there like a minimum investment size that you're looking for?
Well, we're looking for $500,000.
$500,000, right?
Individual investors, and then a larger check for institutional. But depends. Like, where are you at? What kind?
Right.
We
Exactly.
do recognize that there's value that people can add that aren't just financial. So, if you really want to invest and maybe you have a little bit less, we'll look at it. But ultimately, we have a lot of money to raise, and we have a lot of good to do. So we want to try and keep down the size of the LP list.
Absolutely. And so if this interests you, go check out DuContra, and you can see their portfolio there. There are so many exciting companies that they're investing in, and consider becoming part of DuContra. Now, Adrian, I want to talk about a couple of other things that you're really passionate about. Let's talk about soil.
Yeah, let's do that.
So,
I love that.
So when you're in interview with Sadhguru, you guys spoke about soil and why this is something that we really have to be paying attention to. I'd love for you to go deeper.
I just want to say, I think that we as humans we have a tendency to focus on conflict.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I hear a lot, and I'm a UN Environment Goodwill Ambassador for the environment. I do a lot of work in this space. So I meet a lot of environmentalists, and there tends to be, and more so now, more than ever, and I don't know where it came from, but there's this arrogance that people know that we're all going to die. There's like the rapture is coming and it's going to be an environmental apocalypse. That may or may not happen. I don't know. I don't know the future, but I like to lean into not the imperative because things are going to be terrible, but the imperative because it's an opportunity that we have to build a world that we envision is possible. So I like to come from it from a more optimistic perspective, because we don't know the future, because we humbly can say that we can't say for sure. It leaves a world of possibility and means that we can actually do whatever we feel we want to build. So I like to come from it from that perspective. And when you look at soil is a tremendous opportunity, not just to sequester carbon, to create healthy ecosystems, for food production, to create abundance. Soil is really the foundation, quite literally, for all life. And so creating a microbe-rich biome within the soil, you actually do a number of really great things for the planet. Not just carbon sequestration, but also water retention, holding on to water so that it doesn't just run off and take all the nutrients down into the rivers and then dump it in the ocean, but it actually keeps nutrients right there, especially if you're not tilling it and churning it up all the time, but keeping it present in that space so that cover crops and then trees, and then eventually those mushrooms on top of the trees can grow, and you can actually create diversity and abundance within that ecosystem. Soil is I think, and one of the issues is that we've been a little bit naive about how we've been treating the soil. We've been quarters and years mentality, trying to get a yield immediately. So we spray a bunch of chemicals, pesticides, herbicides, artificial fertilizers in order to get food in the moment. But we're actually selling ourselves out down the road. So I take a little bit of time. Yeah.
I just wanted to bring this up. I heard you and Sadhguru say something really interesting. So you guys can watch this clip on Adrian's Instagram, Instagram.com, Adrian Grenier. And Sadhguru and you talk about how India has had agriculture for thousands upon thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, and everything was going fine. But in the last 50 years, because of modern agriculture, close to 50% of arable land in India is turning into wasteland, and that we're going to run out of soil if nothing is done. So that was what Sadhguru spoke about with you. Tell us about what's going on there.
I'm no expert of what's happening there, but I think it's indicative of what's happening around the world in the way we treat our soil and our communities. We're essentially in this old paradigm of exploitation of natural resources, and then a linear system to waste. And then, we're not dealing with our waste either, and it's just littering our planet. So we really do need to create that regenerative closed loop system around the world. It's not just India, but definitely India, so that we can empower people to make a living, and also enrich their lives, not just financially, but also with better, more nutritious food, beautify their environment so that it uplifts their spirit and their sense of possibility and wonder about how the world is, and then ultimately, help the environment heal.
I love that. I love that you're so concerned, that you're so deliberately focused on saving the planet. And I love that listening to you gives us hope, right? It gives us hope. It lets us know that there are influential people out there like you and Bar Minuzzi who are supporting these entrepreneurs, who are helping them find the funding, who are helping them share their stories. I think it's so wonderful that you're an actor, because by being an actor, you are a master storyteller and you have an amplifier. You can amplify these stories. So we have spoken about Du Contra. We have spoken about soil, what's going on with soil, why we need to pay attention to that. Now, you're also deeply concerned with the ocean, and you run an Instagram account called Lonely Whale. Tell us about that.
I don't run it. So Lonely Whale is an ocean organization that I started about 6 years ago. And, I'm not working there much these days. I've been building Du Contra and Earthspeed, and now I have chickens to take care of. So I've been busy.
You've got a lot of different projects.
Yeah. So, but Lonely Whale is standing strong on its own, with incredible support from our team there. And we have a number of programs, one of which is Ocean Heroes Boot Camp, where we host 300 kids from 30 different countries around the world coming together in a boot camp style conference where they get to share their earth values with one another and leave to go back home and advocate for the planet, which is, and these are all youngsters between ages 8 to 18. So amazing kids, one of my favorite programs. And then another one, it's Next Wave Plastic. That's a consortium of 15 or so, maybe 18 companies with an international footprint. And they've all agreed to buy ocean-bound plastic. So essentially creating it's a supply chain for plastic that would otherwise make its way into the ocean. And we're able to identify the leaky points within our world where the majority of plastic is making its way into rivers and then ultimately the ocean because of mismanagement. So these companies are actually investing in creating that supply chain to create a demand for this plastic, to put it back in the economy and take it out of the ocean.
Wow. Yeah, I believe it's something.
A couple of projects we're working on at Lone Whale.
It's something to the tune of 20 tons of plastic per second make it into the ocean.
Yeah, it's like essentially a whole garbage truck full of plastic that goes in the ocean every minute.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So,
and also Lonely Whale, we just put out a movie as well. It's tracking the story of the loneliest whale in the world, which is our hero, our namesake. Check that out. It's really good, and it's not only about the whale, but it's about us. It's about our disconnect and seeking connection.
So one of the things I find interesting about what you're doing with Do Contra is the 4 verticals, right? Because the 4 verticals, and again, maybe you're interested in investing in Do Contra, in which case you want to pay attention to this. But even if you're not, this is really interesting because it gives you a vision of hope of what we can selectively focus on that can make a huge impact on humanity. Adrian, would you talk about the 4 verticals?
Sure. Yeah, so we came up with 4 verticals, the framework through which we invest in a company. If they fit within one of those 4, we feel that we can actually have a real fundamental impact on humanity. You can look at individual companies and, you can use different metrics. We have our YBM metric, but really within these verticals, they each have their own. So one of them is human flourishing, right? So we want to support the betterment of the individual, the up-leveling of the human being. So it's mental health, health and wellness, just tools to give people the opportunity to make better sense of the world and to be healthy so that they can do the work on an individual level. Communitas, as you mentioned,
and just before you move on from human flourishing, you look at psychedelics and mental health. What are you looking at in terms of psychedelics?
So we see the medical use of psychedelics as an important tool, amongst others, to help people overcome traumas and aspects of their lives that are holding them back or keeping them playing small, or keeping them in negative patterning that are destructive for themselves and their communities and the world. So first and foremost, we need to make sure that individual humans are working at their optimal. And that way, when they go out in the world, what they're doing is positive. We have a saying that, we see money as a tool, and we say that the spirit of the tool is determined by the hand of the user. I think Sadhguru actually told me that. So I'll say it again. The spirit of the tool is determined by the hand of the user. So if you have a hammer, what's your intention? What are you going to do with that? Are you going to break something or are you going to build something? So first and foremost, we want to support humans, the individual, to up-level enough so that they can go out and do good work. Whatever that is, it's up to them to decide, but we believe if they have the support, they will make the ethical, spiritual decision. So human flourishing is an important vertical for us.
And what's the second vertical?
Okay, so Communitas is as you mentioned, companies that help bring people together to work better together, to play better together, to come together as community. So essentially, the one thing that makes humans unique is that we have an incredible ability to collaborate and work together. I think we've almost escaped the competition, idea, the idea that, it's survival of the fittest. We're actually survival of the most able to work together. And that's how we built this world that we see. So we think that working with others, coming together as community is so important to not only the betterment of mankind, humankind, but also so that we can align on shared values and come to a consensus goal, consensus mission, and then work together to build that.
Could you give us some examples of companies that you found in these two verticals, human flourishing and sustainable consumption, so we have a more crystal idea of what these verticals mean? Yeah,
so it may have not been mentioned, but we are not currently investing. We're not deploying capital at this moment. We're in the fundraising mode.
I see.
However, we're laying it on the table the kinds of companies that we want to invest in. So imagine retreats, places where people can go to connect on a business level. So work share, like better work share, as well as places for people to go to connect with one another, places, dinners, having community outings and that sort of thing. And then when people travel, and we believe that connecting the world through travel and experiencing the world is important. So where are they going? Who are they staying with? How are they connecting with the local communities? So all of those types of companies.
Awesome. And then there's vertical 3, which is the future of finance.
Yes, future of finance. We all have a default education in money. I mean, I remember when I was a kid and the idea of $1 million was like astronomical, it's huge. And I wanted it. So someone somewhere was conditioning me to want and seek money, profit. And that is just baked into our whole society. So we all need to have, I think we all need to look at our relationship to money and whether or not it's driving us or if we're using it as a tool. Once they're working with others and then they have the capital to go do things, they're going to do great things. So we want to give people the opportunity to access that money and take away the gatekeepers so that more people can have access to the world's wealth and act upon it.
Beautiful, beautiful. So there's human flourishing, sustainable consumption, future of finance, and then the final one is Communitas. Or was Communitas number 2?
No, it's do consumer, which are sustainable consumer goods, essentially.
I see.
What we consume and how. So this I'm a little bit more familiar with just because we've already done a number of investments, such as Blue Land and the others. So these are, I mean, look, we all consume stuff, right? And we all I think need to take a look at what we consume and how we do it. And we're investing in companies that help society do better for the environment, do better for communities and workforce, employees. And so we often use a lot of the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, to help us determine, some of the parameters that will, allow us to invest in a company.
If you're listening and you don't know what the SDGs are, look it up. It is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It is a list of I think it's 12 goals. Adrian, how many?
No, I think it's like 30.
Sustainable Development Goals. They're called the UN SDGs.
We chose the ones that were relevant to our 4 verticals, and
and so if you guys it's 17 interlinked global
17
goals. So yeah, so this is a really phenomenal. You can Google it, Sustainable Development Goals. It is a really phenomenal model to think about how you want to change the world. It's sdgs.un.org goals. And when I am coaching entrepreneurs, I always tell them to refer to this website and try to understand where they can make a dent, where they can make an impact to make the world better off. I think the world doesn't need more entrepreneurs. The world needs more conscious entrepreneurs. And the UN SDG is a really powerful way to help you understand if what you're working on, if that problem you're trying to solve, if the company you're working for is actually making humanity better off or is making humanity worse off. I call it humanity plus or humanity minus. So the UN SDG is an incredible model. Everyone should get acquainted with that.
Absolutely.
So Adrian, what would be next steps for people who have listened to this podcast episode and are interested in Do Contra?
Yeah. So one thing that's important is that we're able to communicate our message. And what we decided is we're going to create a communications arm of Do Contra, which is an opportunity for us to open source and share our experience, what we're doing, and I'm the host. Yours truly is the host. So we created a channel called Earth Speed, and it's a number of things. It's not only sharing homesteading tips and ways to connect more with nature and to create your own food and build your own local, hyper-local, soil-rich, healthy environment, but also investments. So we also invite our entrepreneurs and our LPs to come on and talk about how they're deploying their capital and what they're building from a business perspective. And really for us, it's a 360 lifestyle channel where we use the three verticals: seed, soil, citizen. You're talking about soil. Seed are the ideas, the things we plant for the future. Soil is the embodiment, coming down to earth, getting dirty, getting your hands in the soil, being grounded and doing the work, actually building shit, like actually making things. And, that's important too, that we share tips on how we can actually do the things in our lives, our everyday lives, to build the world. And then finally, of course, citizen, which is how we work together to make the society that we want. So you'll be hearing from thought leaders and entrepreneurs and people who are inspiring that I've surrounded myself with. And I'd love for you to come on if you'd like.
I would love to.
It's an official invite for you to be on Earth Speed. And so we're launching that as well coming out. And I think the link may be down in this particular moment. Some algorithm shut us down. I don't know why they would.
On Instagram, right? Earth Speed.
Yeah, so, right. We were getting a lot of traffic and maybe they thought that was suspect. But we are launching and we should be up and running later today, if not tomorrow. So check that out at Earth Speed.
Perfect. That's really, really, really cool. Adrian, thank you so much for joining us. So those of you who would like to go deeper to learn about Adrian's work, check out Do Contra Ventures, DUCONTRA.ventures, VENTURES. And Adrian, thank you so much for inspiring us, for giving us hope of where the world can go, and for being a role model, for showing us that we can think about the world in far better, more conscious ways so that we can create a better planet for everyone to follow.
Let's go. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.